Malcolm Roberts, who's currently on a flying Murray Darling Basin investigation. The Senator was in Mildura and Menindee this week. What did he take away from his visit to Menindee? Senator Malcolm Roberts joins me this morning. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Sarah.
So it's Georgia, actually, you're talking to?
Oh, sorry, Georgia.
It's completely fine. Mr. Roberts, what was your intention coming out to have a look at the Murray Darling Basin?
Well, a couple of years ago, in early 2017, I was listening to communities in southern Queensland, and they were talking about the Murray Darling Basin. And it was alarming, the destruction to the communities up there and the farming industry, what the Murray Darling Basin Authority is doing. And so I organised a bus trip along the Murray from mid-Victoria, New South Wales, through to the mouth of the river in near Goolwa. And I took Senator Pauline Hanson with me, and we learned a lot just by listening to people. And then it became clear that the people in the lower Darling were really being smashed around by the Murray Darling Basin Authority. And I made up my mind that I would travel the length of the Darling on the ground. Now I got knocked out of the Senate, and now that I'm back, I'm going to fulfil that promise. But what we did this time, Georgia, is go right around the whole Murray Darling Basin in 3 days, going to the hot spots, getting an overview of the whole of the basin, because we covered the whole basin. And then what we'll be doing is coming back on the ground and driving the length of the Darling, and also visiting communities along the way and listening, because it's quite clear that Menindee is being smashed, the lower Darling is being smashed by the Murray Darling Basin, and it's just not right. We flew over the lower lakes in South Australia, Georgia, and it was just stunning, the amount of fresh water just laying about outside the banks. It's just cruel. They're killing the environment at Menindee. They're killing the environment in the rivers. They've got a mad plan that cannot possibly work, and all for propping up an environmental destruction in South Australia because of the ignorance of South Australian governments over decades. I mean, it has to stop, and we've got to start again with this. It's just crazy.
Senator Roberts, you've mentioned a few times there that the lower lakes, or the lower Darling River and the Menindee lakes, have been smashed. What do you mean by that? I mean, the Murray Darling Basin Authority, are you saying it's at fault of theirs? Or
yes.
There are a couple of different things at play here. Were you able to wrap your head around all of those?
Well, that is something that's quite true, Georgia, in what you're saying. There are so many complexities and nuances. It's not possible to get them all on a 3-day trip or on our previous 3-day bus ride. But that's why I'll be coming back for weeks to listen to people in the communities and get a feel for it. But the Murray Darling Basin is at fault, according to the locals, and from what we can see. Look, the whole plan is based on a lie. The whole plan is based on a lie. And there are very, very few river and creek flows that are measured. So how the hell can anyone allocate water fairly and transparently when there's so little data on the creek flows? You compound that with a highly variable climate, which is natural in Australia, and it's just a mess. And the Murray Darling Basin has wrecked the Menindee lakes. There's no doubt about that. You used to have 30 species of birds coming in, some from as far away as Siberia. Internationally, it was a wetland renowned. It provided a very important environmental benefit there. And it also had a community with a sustainable tourism business. And both of those have been smashed.
So just to clarify, the Murray Darling Basin plan you're referring to that has drained the Menindee lakes, is that what you're saying?
And a couple of the Liberal national ministers, to their credit, 6 months or so ago, acknowledged that Menindee lakes were drained to send water to South Australia, to Lake Alexandrina, and that's wrong.
You put a video up on Twitter that detailed that One Nation, this tour puts One Nation in a terrific position to help solve the water crisis in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
How do you intend on being able to do that?
Well, first of all, and primarily by listening to people in the regions. We listen to farmers all over New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, as well as South Australia. and we've got some fabulous ideas from the people who know what's going on. We listened to an Aboriginal group yesterday led by Alfred Priestley up at Mungandai, which is on the border between New South Wales and Queensland. And everywhere they're saying they're not being listened to. The Murray-Darling Basin is just dictating, lecturing, ordering. It's not listening. I was locked out of a meeting that locals had asked me to join them in. They were invited on the Friday, just last Friday, to attend a meeting on the Monday, one working day's notice to people who are busy. Some of them went along, and they asked me to just join them, and all I was going to do was sit in the back and listen.
So what meeting was that?
I can't remember the exact title of the group, but it was something to do with assessing the social impacts. And, they wouldn't even let me in to listen because it might change the way people spoke. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So the Murray-Darling Basin has a reputation across the whole basin for not listening, just ordering. So the first thing is to listen and get the facts. The second thing is to make sure we measure creek and river flows as the basis for water allocations. The third thing is we need to restore the science. The South Australia lower lakes, they're estuarine, and we're propping them up as fresh water and wasting a hell of a lot of water in evaporation and in just losses along the way to prop that nonsense up. Lock Zero, if put in just below Tailem Bend, would increase South Australia's effectiveness in the use of its water and give it many more jobs and much more agricultural revenue. We've got some ideas that are long-standing. They're not our own. They'd be modified by listening to people about bringing water in from the outside for added security for Adelaide and Melbourne. But the first step before doing that is to stop the current corruption and the crooks that are making millions out of this.
Where do you see the corruption, Senator Roberts? Is it in the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, or is it further upstream? There has been many times discussed about the alleged over-extraction of water from the upper Darling River by irrigators. Were you able to discuss with anybody whilst you were here that notion? I
discussed that notion from people with people in the north and people in the south, not so much specifically at Menindee. What I've found is there's a lot of ignorance around about the use of water in the north. There are outfits like Cubby, for example, that has measured its offtake of floods. It can only take flood water that would have drained out on the floodplains. But I've become aware, according to locals in the south and also some in the north, of corruption with regard to water allocations. Some people who've been paid for their water allocations and are now getting water again. And I'm also aware of accusations that there are some people in the north that are illegally taking water, unregulated water. But I want to emphasise that I've been across the Cubby operation before, and it is one of the few operations that actually measures its offtake, and it has got no water allocation out of the river, but it has got permission when the state government allows it to take water from the floodplain floods. So there is some misrepresentation of Cubby that's doing a lot of destruction, and that is not just hurting Cubby, it's also hurting the people in the south, because while ever ignorance prevails, then we won't get to the root cause, which is the corruption in the Murray-Darling Basin Authority's plan. So they're a combination of several factors.
Would you back a Royal Commission into the Murray-Darling Basin plan?
Yes, I would, with the proviso that Royal Commissions, the terms of reference are driven by the government, and both Labor and Liberal have a lot to hide in this in any Royal Commission, because it's clear that the plan is based on lies and the plan is perpetuating lies. And so both parties have led governments that have perpetuated this lie. So I would be very wary about the Royal Commission's terms of reference, because I believe that the Prime Minister is responsible for that. However, I think we need to have thorough investigations, and a Royal Commission openly, transparently, with solid terms of reference would be great. The other thing is, I'm aware of a class action from some irrigators in the south of New South Wales, I believe, who are taking the Murray-Darling Basin to court, Murray-Darling Basin Authority to court, and suing them, I think, for gross negligence. And, you know, the beauty of a court, the beauty of a Royal Commission is that witnesses can be subpoenaed and give evidence under oath. And that's what we need.
Right, Senator Roberts, thank you so much for joining us this morning on ABC Broken Hill.
You're very welcome, Georgia. Thank you.
That is One Nation Queensland Senator Malcolm Roberts.